Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of Epic Fantasy Romance. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Delicious. Today is Monday, July 11th. We're full of perkitude here at Shea Kennedy. Hope you are too. Um, yeah, I had a good weekend. I had a restful weekend. Had some good conversations with people, not with all the people I meant to. I reached out to a couple of friends that I have owed phone conversations to. Say we could talk on Sunday. I'm getting my life back. And one said, okay, that she'd get back to me with a time. And then she never did. And the other one, I'm going to talk to this afternoon. Um, so I'll keep pursuing the former and hopefully talk to the latter. And then I did get to talk to another friend yesterday. We had a virtual. Well, I was trying to explain how it was because I told my mom that I'd had a glass of wine with my friend. And she said, I assume you mean a virtual glass of wine. And I was like, well, the wine was real, but the interface was virtual. But it was funny because my friend is also a writer and a very busy person. And she was showing me a new kind of scheduling system that she's using, a sort of an online calendar, um, because that was partly how I had scheduled to have like social time with her. And I want to set up mine the same way. I was using Calendly before, and I should do that again so that people can like schedule social time to chat with me because I did like doing that. And she was glad that I did. And so we're like, okay, let's keep this going. I think she was intent on reciprocating, which is very nice. So so she's showing me this other scheduling system that she's using, which would probably be a little much for me. It's really cool, but one thing I've discovered about myself is that if I am too heavily scheduled, i I start to feel pressed and I don't like it. But you can pick the things that you put in there. It's kind of a cool system. And so one of the things she was showing me on the sidebar, she was sharing her screen on the sidebar, have like lunch, exercise, email, along with scheduled meetings in an attempt to like handle daily things like we all do. And it showed for that day, for Sunday, and on exercise it said couldn't fit in. And I started laughing. I don't think she thought it was as funny as I did because I was like, isn't that just the way? It's like exercise couldn't fit in. Even our AI driven scheduling systems can't figure out a way to fit in some of those things. I was very amused by it. She, not so much. It could have been that she was more focused on, like, trying to explain to me why the calendar couldn't fit in exercise on that given day. But I was going for the the universal irony of the thing. Could not fit in. It's like writing, right? It's the thing that, although I hear it much less now, I don't know if it's because where I'm at or where aspiring authors are at, but for so long it seemed like I would hear from people, oh, I want a book, but I can't find the time. You know what? I wonder if pandemic changed that. People were like, well, I definitely have the time. Maybe so. That's an interesting thought, isn't it? But anyway, yeah, writing could not fit in, because and that's how this calendar is you could set things as being um, immovable appointments, and then it would shift other things, which it is a cool system. So like if you end up having, if you usually schedule lunch for noon and you end up having a meeting that goes till 12:30, it'll shift lunch down. Um, so I mean, I could see that. I could see that. I kind of do that on my own scheduling. Some things are more flexible than others. So on the one hand, I'm tempted and interested, and on the other, I think, is it really doing anything I can't do for myself? I was in a meeting the other day and somebody was referencing their to do list, and they said that they had read that you should never change the order of your to do list, that you shouldn't spend any time rejiggering your to do list because then that you're just using time that you could have been using to do the thing, which I can see. But all of us on the call kind of groaned. And we're all like, I spend a lot of time rejiggering my to do list. And the person said, well, that's the point. And it's like, yeah, but it's important rejiggering. Um, I'm not sure I want to. I don't know. It's sort of like the other efficiency advice, like you only pick up a piece of mail once, which now translates to email, that you only look at an email once and you respond to it then. I'm happiest when I'm in that place. I am not always in that place. It would be interesting to try to do that with the to do list. It would take quite a bit of rejiggering for me to get it to a place I could do that, because I do always have more on my list on any given day than I can get to, which I do know is a problem. Um, and so I do think in terms of, if I move things to particular days and really commit to, on this day I'll get this thing done, and I can't move it, will that help? I don't know. But I did get, um, I got to inbox zero over the weekend, woo-hoo-hoo, which is great because especially my SIFWA inbox had gotten up to like 42 emails, which I know is not a lot compared to how other people run their lives. But mine was at that because they were all things I had to deal with. and and it had slid back to the beginning of June that there were things lurking in there. In my defense, we had had a little bit of an email server hiccup, and a whole slew of emails that sort of came through, like to the general president email, had gotten stuck. And so they were all liberated at once, and they were all things that I had to consider in some way or another. So now that I'm back at inbox zero, hopefully I can uh, keep keep going. Um, but my friend and I were just talking about one of the difficulties with inbox zero is that there are days when you simply can't face opening your email. I was glad to hear her say the same thing. It's like, that after you get traumatized a few times, it's like, oh, I don't want to open my email. But yeah. So I actually have notes today. I was thinking about things this morning. My brain was clicking along, which is a good thing, right? Uh, I was talking to David because, so we have this puzzle box for the cats that's got, we got it off of Amazon. You put it together, it's cardboard, it's got like two levels, and it's got little boxes inside, and you put their toys inside, and you put treats in there. And then the cats absorb their energies by digging the treats out of the box. And at first, only Jackson liked it. Isabel completely ignored it. But Jackson got tired of it. I think it's too much work for lazy boy cat. Um, and then Isabel discovered it a few weeks ago. I don't know why it suddenly caught her attention, but she loves this box. She loves this box. She like sleeps beside it. She loves it so much. Sometimes she sits on it, sometimes she lies next to it and gazes at it lovingly. And she wants us to put treats in it all the time. And she is senior cat, and she has started to decline in weight, so I'm not concerned about her eating too much. Sometimes I worry about her eating too many treats and not enough of her cat food, but I don't know how much of a concern that is. So she meows at us to put more treats in the puzzle box. And this morning I was making my coffee, prepping to come out here, and David walked through the living room and Isabel started meowing at him rather strenuously. And I said, "Don't listen to her stories. I already gave her, I already refilled her box with treats." And I thought it was funny that I say that. And I recall that coming from my grandmother, that she would say stories. Now, don't be telling stories, as a way of saying telling lies. And it made me think about, there are always some writers out there who say things like, "I lie for a living, I tell lies for a living." Um, and I don't like that. And and I could see probably where they come from culturally, because it's the same place my grandmother came from, right? With that, don't tell stories, don't listen to her stories, where stories are equivalent to untruths. And I don't really believe that. Um, I don't believe that storytelling and lying are the same thing. Incidentally, and completely off topic, Thursday and Friday, I was not able to get Instagram to load this podcast. I don't know why. I might have to go back to doing a clip, but if you missed the podcast at the end of last week, this is why. If you watch on Instagram, and I know a lot of you do. So it just keeps saying can't load, or can't share. I think can't share. Probably Instagram changed their settings again, alas. So I just wanted to mention that. If it won't load today, I'll try to do the snippet again and see if that works. Hello, Hummer. Hummer is coming in to feed off of the hanging lobelia. Very picturesque. So, oh, the other thing that my friend and I were talking about, I've got something fuzzy on my face. Sorry. I don't know what. Something floated down. Uh, oh, we were just talking about the storytelling muscle and what that feels like, and how for both of us it feels like more of a visceral thing than a floaty thing. And I was saying that's partly why I don't really grok with people saying things like the muse or the spirit or the inspiration. The word inspiration comes from inspire, to draw breath in. It never feels like an airy, breathy thing to me. It feels like a gut thing. It feels like a muscle. And she was asking me about something I'd been sort of debating, been waffling on in writing Shadow Wizard. And I said, "Oh, you know what? I got to the point in the book. I'm at like a little more than 20,000 words now. I'm closing in on Act One climax, and so I'm at. I mean, we could see. I lied to her probably and said I was at like 25,000 words, and I don't think it's that many. 21.4, give or take a few 3,500 words, but it was good enough for the conversation. And I said that I had gotten to that point where I started to do the thing that I wanted to do, and it felt so good. I was so happy that I could do that. And she had kind of given me quasi permission, waved the permission wand to try this new thing I wanted to do. Oh, who am I kidding? I've already told all of you that I want to write more than two POVs in Shadow Wizard. So I've been alternating with Jadrin and Salaya for the first part of the book, and now I have switched to Gabriel's POV. And she asked, "What did I think about it?" I was like, "Oh, it felt so good." And she's like, "That's that visceral feeling, isn't it?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." And we were both talking about how it feels like a. She said sometimes it almost feels like sculpting, like you've got this big thing and you're kind of wrestling it. So I find it interesting that we both see it the same way. Always fascinating to me how people see their process. Um, you know that I also wrote these notes on this, and I'm trying to decide if this is like a whole nother topic, and I'm probably not going to get to in the next 5 minutes. But I can talk a little bit about that first act. Uh, I've been reading several different books over the next last few days, or the next few days, um, trying to trying to satisfy various obligations and settle in um, for something that's going to feed me through writing Shadow Wizard. And I haven't quite found it yet. I was reading a book that uh, Kelly Robson recommended to me, and she really, really wanted me to read. And it's a fantasy, a new fantasy. It's not romance though, and I do feel occasionally a little bit of chagrin about when people will say, "Well, does a book have to be romance?" And it doesn't. I read a lot of books that are not romance, but if I read a book that is, I'm trying to explain what it is about this book without getting too specific. Um, Romance adds a level of happiness and reassurance to a dark story for me. So I can read a story that is nonfiction or that is even something that is like, I don't know, I, I'm not sure I can even say what it is. But if there is a story like this one that is fantasy, but where the protagonists are all really unhappy people and it's macabre, uh, in a way that is similar to, and I'm going to mention this one, Gideon the Ninth. I know a lot of people loved Gideon the Ninth. I did not get through it, and I read it for quite. I don't know. I think I read like the first 25%. And it's nothing against Tamsin Muir because I do think that Tamsin is a wonderfully skilled writer and created a fascinating world. And I loved that opening scene. The opening scene was amazingly well done, which kept me going. But then it goes into this world where there is so much darkness and the people are miserable and they are all unkind to each other. And I know that at least people say that there's eventually a romance, but I didn't believe that it was going to be a romance with a capital R because the people were already so unkind to each other. And I thought it might end up being more of a, I don't know, kind of a gray romance, if you know what I mean, because it was really more of a fantasy or science fiction story. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. I should tell you all the story about Perfectly Fine, but I won't right now. I have to get permission. Uh, but it's been become our new favorite hashtag. So now I'm totally distracted by Perfectly Fine. Perfectly Fine is a way of saying I understand why people enjoy this thing, and it's perfectly fine for them to enjoy this thing, but I don't get it, and I seriously, but I don't get it because I see it so differently. Um, the the hate relationship thing is just not something that's fun for me. And in this book that Kelly wanted me to read, it was there was a lot of that, and it was a very interesting magic system and an interesting world and setup. But I knew that I was not going to get happy emotions from reading this book. And I think that's what it comes down to is, and maybe that's something that romance readers and writers have a difficult time conveying. It's not just that we want the romance or the love affair. It's that I want that emotional satisfaction. And that was RWA's definition for a long time, probably still is. I'm really not sure what's going on with RWA these days, but it's that emotionally satisfying conclusion, and that's what you want. Yeah, I mean, they probably didn't want to say happy, but there's something to that. That we want to come out of it feeling joyful and optimistic and believing um, in a satisfying relationship, whatever kind of relationship that may be. And if I am in doubt about getting that, and I'm not going to get happiness from the story in any other way, then I'm unlikely to want to keep going with it. So I think Kelly was pretty disappointed in me that I wouldn't keep reading this book. And then she was talking about another book. She said, "Well, did I ever tell you to read this book?" And I said, "Yes." And I tried to read it and I didn't like it. I think she's so we're just doing perfectly fine to each other. So on that note, I think I will go on. I know I didn't finish talking about first 25%, but I'm going to talk about that more tomorrow because I have other things to say about that. And yeah, and now I need to go get some work done. So I hope you all have a wonderful Monday, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Well, take care. Bye bye.